All right. I'm going to give this a moment for everyone on the rewatch. You might want to skip up a little bit because I'm going to allow a few moments for some people to come on in for the live. And then we're going to get started. First of all, glad tidings, greetings to all the beloved across the realm. As always and always, Mësët to you. This basically is something for I to go any further to what I would like to teach. I have to lay this foundation. Some of you already know. There may be some of you that know all of it. I mean, all of you do know it. It's just a fact of you getting that spark in you of what I call remembering. And at some occasions, some moments, we all need that spark, and it comes in all different ways. And teachings like this are one of those ways. So basically, we're going to get started right now. Anyone who comes in late, they'll just have to, catch it, what they missed on the rewatch. Good evening, good rising, or good setting, wherever you are. Shout out to the moderators. I see Sister Lorena is in here. I appreciate you, as well as I appreciate everyone. Now, I could have named this many different things. I could have really named it being based on the Great Mother. So we're going to go back. Everything, I'm going to show you some things. I have the screen thing set up. And I'm going to show you how someone that doesn't know, I could see how they may think that this is some kind of simulation. Although when you know further than what they tell you is our history, his story, when you can go back further than that, that is when you know that this isn't a simulation, because there were no like evident sequences. It was just nature. It was one. Now there are all these codes, programs, apps of L. Okay, taking a bite off the apple. That's the app of L in today's language. And don't think that any of that is coincidence. There are no coincidences, none. Because the greatest of spirit is going to unveil to you some, however high technology gets, the greatest of spirit is way beyond that. But you're only going to be a couple steps, because that's all that's needed is to be. You don't have to be way beyond that, because you're in no danger. There's no fear. There's no race. There's no war. There's none of that. So you don't have to be like eons beyond this artificial, this abominable intellect that is not just a computer. Everyone thinks artificial intelligence equates to computer. There's spiritual artificial intelligence. And all it is a distorted version of the natural, sacred version of it. That's all it is. So we're going to get into it. So just a little bit more than 100 years ago, no one knew that there was human life, or at least mainstream wouldn't admit it. No one really knew, like mainstream, that there was human life here at the time when the woolly mammoth was here. They just found that out supposedly about 130 years ago. 130, 140 years ago. That man was here at the same time the woolly mammoth. So that goes to tell me they also don't know about what they call dinosaurs. That man was here when dragons was here. And that's a fact. So I'm not going to get all off into the realm of fairy tales, even though fairy tales are the most ancient mythos. The fairy tales are the most powerful things that we had as a people at one point, because it was our way of conveying the message on. And what happened was these parasites saw that we were doing that, and they caught on to it, and they started hijacking the fairy tales, and they started making their own mythos. And today it's called religion. And it becomes a story that is idolized. Not only idolized, it's worshipped. That means you're willing to hop on a warship and literally kill or sacrifice something you love. And that's the story of all the religions. It's either kill or sacrifice something. And that's the same story of the elites and the Illuminati today. That's how you know they're both serving the same God. Just like Christ, Emmanuel said, you'll know them by their fruit, not their words, not their knowledge, not how much knowledge they have, how much magic they can do. If they can move something telepathically, if they can spray the skies, if they can make sun simulators, if they can make fake hurricanes, it's their fruit. You'll know them by their fruit. So if they're in Hollywood, and we know the phrase selling your soul and all that, well, what makes you think that they wasn't doing that way? That's what all the religions are about. Come to the altar to get altered. Why would you need to be altered when you're already perfect? You're a piece of the all. See, the altar is to tear from the all. The altar, when really you're the all toroid field. And you're on the tour of the purge, but you're the all. And they want to alter that. And we're at the point now in this incarnation where it's literally technology that they desire to intertwine with you. And it's happened before. That's what a body is. But this is the thing. This is where they get a lot of people. You can buy into the story of the Sumerian tablets and think that, Enki and Enlil came here and the Anunnaki, and they trapped us in bodies and all that. But that's not true neither. I promise you that's not true. There's hidden stories in the Sumerian tablets, just like the Bible is encoded. It's not read on the surface of it. The Sumerian tablets have a whole hidden story, just like the Bible has many hidden stories in it. So it's not about getting trapped in bodies. There's been physical bodies here for hundreds of thousands of years. Every dimension exists right where you're at right now. It's not a worldwide happening where everybody goes to the next dimension at the same moment. See, that's that new age stuff they want you to buy into. It's the new religion. It's a new religion. Either you got to buy into this is all a simulation, or you got to buy into something. We're all going to 5D. How you go from 3D to 5D? You didn't skip the whole step. You don't even. These people that tell you we're going to 5D are unable to explain to you what 4D is. How you going to 5D and you can't even explain 4D? Ask next time someone's talking to you about 5D, ask them, well, what about 4D? What's that? Oh, that's Metatron's cube. That's a tesseract. That's probably all they'll say. They probably won't know nothing else. Or they'll call it the astral plane. And that's incorrect. The fourth dimension, oh, that's the astral realm. No, wrong. Oh, well, no, it's the Tesseract. It's Metatron's cube. Yeah, man, read the book. No one, they can't even tell you. I mean, they can, but they're unable to at that right now at this moment. I haven't met anyone, even those that claim they know. If I take the moment to listen, they pretty much just speak in circles. I've yet to come across someone who can thoroughly explain it better than what I know inside of I. And what you know as well. No, Brother David, we are not in 2D right now. 2D is your shadow. So 3D is your 4D shadow. So right now, the body that you are in and your ego and your name David and everything, that's the shadow of your fourth dimensional self. It just comes in color. The 3D is in the visible spectrum. So now 2D goes from black and white. That's the chessboard of the Freemasonry. See, when they was thinking from a 3D perspective, they had us in a 2D perspective, black and white in the book, 2D, worshiping this book and this story and what's written in ink, and your shadow is when they say do shadow work, they're talking about you got to get your 2D consciousness right before you can get to your 3D consciousness, which is just the visible spectrum, which is 0.0033% of reality. That's also connected to 33 degrees. So your 2D is the shadow of your 3D self, and your 3D is a shadow of your 4D self. So that would mean your fourth dimensional body is a shadow of your fifth dimensional self. No one can even fathom what a 4D body is at this moment, truly, 100%. So how can someone say that they're going to 5D? They can't even begin to explain what that looks like. That's a fact. They cannot even begin to explain. I mean, if I could show you a model of a 4D mock fourth dimensional tesseract, and I've seen it. I've seen this before. I saw this video. I saw it in a vision before, and it's wild. It's wild. Your third dimensional consciousness can literally get like, I don't use profanity, but like mind freaked. You can literally get stuck. It's like someone doing drugs, like DMT or PCP or something, and getting stuck. You can literally get stuck in doing unnatural raising of consciousness, because when you do it unnaturally, that basically means you're running against time, and time is of no concern to an eternal soul. Is nothing. Time is actually a ritual, to be honest with you. The word week, it means Wicca, Wikipedia and all that, and week actually comes from the word Wicca, which was at one point had to do with Earth and the moon and things. And matter of fact, that's a good segue to get into what I'm about to get into. But no, brother, your consciousness is at least 3D right now, but we should be working on our 4D consciousness. And the easiest way I can teach someone to do that is I'm not saying at every moment, but at moments. First of all, you have to observe. Observing is the number one thing. That's number one. You have to take the moment to not only observe, but stop observing from like what they call it when the games be. Ronnie, what's it called when you like when you're the screen and you looking around? That's first players. When so, say if you're in one of them war games. Right now you're in 3D. That's first player shooter, first person shooter. So right now your 3D consciousness is like first person. Your eyeballs are the screen. Everywhere you look, that's you. That's all you can see. 4D is you raising up above that person and looking all around that person and seeing the bigger picture, everything around that person. And I'm not talking physically. Now it can start, your breakdown can start physically. You see your family, you see this, you see your work, you see all these different aspects around you. But the real key is, do you have the eye to see your position in it and what is truly meant to be accomplished? And that doesn't mean you have to know how to do it. That's logic. You don't have to know how to, you don't have to plan anything. Only thing you have to know is what's going on, what the task is. And sometimes you don't even got to know that down to specifics. All you got to know is who you truly are for real. And that will raise your consciousness. But a good way to look at it is like, go from first person to where you can raise up and see the map a little bit better of your surroundings. And that's on a spiritual note. But so the story of the Great Mother, right, is most prevalently told in the caves. Now we know today in this moment there's a lot of, let's call it what it is, I guess racism or something. There's a small doctrine of people that have this thing with, like, I guess, quote unquote white people that come from the caves and this and that, when that's just simply incorrect. Like it I do know who started the doctrine. I'm not going to mention them, but it's new age doctrine. It has not been around that long. But so the story of the Great Mother is told in the caves. That's where it comes from. And the caves are one of the most sacred things here on earth, and to spirituality, to everything. And a lot of people don't know this. And from about 30,000 to 10,000 BC, the caves were the most sacred place on earth. I'm going to say that again. From 30,000 to 10,000 BC, which 10,000 BC is approximately age of Leo, right? That's where age of Leo is. So it went age of Virgo. Virgo is the virgin. That was us, the Great Mother. All the whole, we wasn't even worried about that zodiac and all that. That's time worshiping. We were aware of everything, but we were in harmony with everything. So it was the age of Virgo for about 30,000 years. That's what you call the Garden of Eden. I mean, it's the real one, not the cube, not the Merkaba one in the Bible. Basically, heaven on earth, complete balance and wholeness, even heaven. So from 30,000 to 10,000 BC, the caves was the most sacred place, the sanctuary of the Great Mother, and the source of her regenerative power. Entering one of the caves is basically like making a journey into another world. If you've been in even just a little one, you'll understand what I'm saying. But I'm talking about going miles into one. So our ancestors looked at it like going inside the body of the Great Mother. And in a sacred world, when the Great Mother is sacred, the actual hollowed shape of the caves and all that symbolizes her all-containing womb, which brings forth the living and takes back the dead. Think about that. Everything that grows up from under us. See, everything been flipped on us. We think hell is down and under and this and it, like some old crazy mess, and heaven is up. That's what they got us. They got the whole thing flipped and just it's pretty insane. So our ancestors look at it like life would be pushed up, right? And death is not really death, it's just going back into the womb of the mother. Now think about it. How is that different from what any of us have been in alignment with here? In those that have been over here for a few years now already know. This is no different. This is coming from the ancestors going back about 50,000 linear years, y'all. Like, this right here is the truth. Who's gonna be deceived for that long? And then I'm gonna get into it for even more. I'm gonna get into it even deeper. Do you know that there is no evidence of any violence? No I can't even say it. Archaeologists. Do you know they've never found any type of fossils or anything that show any type of war or violence going back like that? That's a fact. We didn't have war, nothing. We didn't even have warriors. We didn't even have soul dyers, aka soldiers. We didn't have armies, none of that. We literally didn't have armies, y'all. People can't even fathom that idea in this moment. We didn't have warriors. That's how much it wasn't even a thing. Now, all right, let me see. So the hollow shape of the inner earth and the caves symbolizes the Great Mother's all-containing womb, which brings forth the living and takes back the dead. Okay, it held our ancestors what we would call rites. No, we ain't talking about no crazy ritual. Not I, and not my ancestors. I cannot speak for everyone now, because there was people. Don't think just because somebody talking about the Great Mother, like there still ain't people that get stupid with it. Basically, that's the nicest way I can say it. It's free will. There's going to be people, souls, that no matter what, like there's people that were practicing cannibalism back then, ritualistic cannibalism, and they still weren't having wars and things like that. Now, I'm not justifying or minimizing or rationalizing that, because that's is crazy. I can't even fathom that. But these were people, it was part of their thing. That's all I got. That's all I can say. But I can also tell you that the ones that's running the show in this world right now are either the same souls that have just snowballed into this even more wicked version, because the version that we have on that's present right now is probably the wicked as it can really get. Like, that's how we know that we're close to a purging event, because it's not based on time. It's not like a set date. Like, on this date, yeah, it's going to be a purge and a plasma apocalypse. It don't work. That's not how it works. That's stupid. That don't even sound right. That's retarded. That's like a computer intelligence that was made by somebody pretty stupid, actually. So no, it doesn't go by that. It's waves. It's frequency. Everything here is frequency and waves, and it's different aspects of it. And things get stored. People call it a lot of different things, Akashic records and all that. Really, it's, if it's you personally, it's stored. It becomes you. It already is you. It's just an experience now, but it already was you and is you, because you're the all. So you're not lacking anything. You're experiencing, having different experiences of reflection, you know. But the enemy, I don't even want to say enemy. The fakers have made like a third reflection, the light bearers, you know, and they made like this false overlay. That's why people think we're in some kind of simulation now, because they're so far along with it that it's starting to overtake people's consciousness. And the way it does that is through knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. So the more knowledge you get, the heavier your load is on your on the scales of your heart. So you're better off actually with less knowledge, because now that you have more, you have to make sure you bound. I mean, but if you're an eternal soul, it really is not hard. It's really not. All you got to do is have your priorities right and know who and what you truly are, and it's not hard at all. Okay, let me see. So the cave was basically a place of transformation, and it was listen to this. This is so cool. It was the binding link between the past and future. The cave, right? Now hold on, you might be saying, but that in that time, bro. But listen how our ancestors put it all together. And so at most occasions we will hold what's called rites deep in the cave's interior sanctuary. This is where they get all the churches and temples. This is where they got the whole idea, the Holy of Holies, from they copied off of our. And I'm talking about tens of thousands of years ago. That's how long we've been doing this. They just started. They just hijacked this place about. Well, they did it once before with Atlantis, and then they just did it again about almost 7,000 years ago. So this is it. This is at least the second, third time they've attempted. You know, they sometimes they pull some old crazy stuff off, like they did in Egypt with the pyramids. They really did rip what we would call space time in half, but it's stupid. Again, I'm trying to be careful what words I use, but they're stupid. And growing up, I would have said retarded, but now I get that that's a sensitive word to some people. You know, I get it. But yeah, even the whole pyramid thing was just stupid. So, and Elon Musk is gonna try something, and it's not just him. He's just a playboy he's just like Trump. He's not the you know, he's not that high up like you think, but because of his bloodline, he is, and you know, and they're all the same bloodline, all of them. Let me see. So inside the cave, the ancestors used to place stones that represented the souls of the dead who would be reborn from her womb. Because no matter what, the great mother's going, you're going to come. It's eternal soul, which is you, the piece of her that is you, and it's the all. That's the soul, eternal soul, life, that's consciousness, light, that's information, and rest. So you also rest, beloved. There is rest. And you know that's the only technology they still have never produced. They don't have any technology that can make something stop vibrating. But the womb of the great mother can. That's where you're good. That's where you get your rest at. And still exists though. Like you don't just go back to some cosmic blob. That's that Luciferianism. Like you going back to some cosmic blob of light out in outer space to become one with the one again, and you're gone. You're just in some pool of water, cosmic jelly, and there's no more you. It's just one. That's nope. That's not it. See, it's on a way. Love is intimate. Love is intimate. So what would make you even think that there's no intimacy in that? That's selfishness. That's the story of Jesus coming to save everybody. That's pride. That's pride. Like, you, even if you say I'm coming to save everybody, but it's just you. If one already came, they'll show you how to do it. They'll teach. They don't. The all isn't looking for followers. The all is looking for those that are the all, that are leaders and remember who and what they truly are. Not a follower, not a subscriber. And that's what Ra Legion teaches. They take good stories, mythos, fairy tales, and they turn it into idolatrous division. Even the story is division about sacrificing one person for everybody. That's division right there. And then coming back to save everybody again. That's division again. And it's on the flip side, it's also it's ironically division when they say, oh, you going back to the all, this blob light in the sky, this primordial water, and you just gonna go back to the all. Well, that's division. That means there ain't no you and I. What happened to you and I? Where do we go? Nope. Don't work like that either. Because if it worked like that, you wouldn't be going through the tour of the purge. The purging of the toroid field. There will be no need for it. There will be no need for you to exist. There would be no need for you to exist if you were not going to maintain everything that is the true you. And it's which basically is love. So unless you can transmute every situation to love, you will not take it all with you. You can take love with you because that's what you are. Love is eternal. Love goes beyond through firmaments. There's no firmament to love. There's no galaxy. There's no Milky Way. All them fancy words and all that. Now there's a you and I verse, and we're doing that right now. And it's 143 right now. That means I love you. 143 is showing on my screen right now. But so yeah, like the ancestors would put stones in the caves representing the souls, basically who was getting rest, and they knew the great mother was going to sprout them out again. And as this teaching, I'm so long-winded. I thought I could do this in 2. It'll probably be 4. But as this teaching progresses, I'm going to show you how we know even how long it takes to reincarnate. Our ancestors figured it out. And it's beautiful. And when I say reincarnate, that does not mean you're coming back to this. So don't get like upset and be like, man, I don't want to come back here. You won't. There'll never be another here again. Here is only here right now. So you can never come back to here. It's gone. Here's already gone. When I just said that, that's good. It's gone. So the only thing here is now. So wherever you go, it will always be now. Therefore, you're not coming back here. You're just you're going coming out of rest, or you're going being reborn, basically. You know what they say, born again. It's just that message has been weaponized. That phrase. It's either to make you think you gotta repeat after me and believe what I believe, or you're gonna burn in hell, or you know, some of the new age stuff got different. Basically, like you got to qualify yourself or something to get to the next place. There's no qualification for the all, beloved. You're you're an eternal soul. So that's what it is. But so on the exterior walls going into the cave was the images of the Great Mother, right? On the outside, but on the inside, you would never find the images that represent her. On the inside, you would find male and female animals on the interior walls. And it was specifically male and female. They made that evident. And basically, this embodied the different aspects of her being. So we would call that duality today. In the patriarchal religions, we're told that's bad. That's duality, this and that, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. But that's not how the ancestors. They took something benevolent and they distorted it with distorted masculine energy. And that's what this whole teaching is about. It's going to show you how everything that they've told you is bad actually was what kept us in harmony for at least 60,000 to 80,000 years. Provable. Give me 1 second, y'all. Ronnie, answer this real quick and tell her that I'm doing a teaching right now. Excuse me, y'all. So just before 1914 in southwestern France, a complex of labyrinth caves were discovered 60 feet below the surface of the ground. And it was proven basically that it was used for at least 20,000 years. And it was one of the most important centers of what we would call religion today, but really it was just spirituality that was led by the Great Mother. So some say that it was actually the greatest in the world, the most important center of Great Mother veneration and unity in the entire earth. And this is in Western France. It was a labyrinth was found in 1914 underground. So that's for anybody who wants receipts. So narrow labyrinth passages through caverns vast enough to contain a cathedral. So we're talking huge caves big enough to have the biggest Catholic churches you've ever seen, and they're even more beautiful because there's real crystals and things dripping down from the top and growing up from the bottom. So it's way more beautiful. There's still light fragmenting and everything in there. And basically we have a sanctuary at the end. and about 2 miles you would have to go in darkness, or if you had like a torch or something with you, from the mouth of the cave. And oftentimes it was very, very tight. Some people even called it a torturous, getting like cut on jagged rocks and things. About 2 miles down, which is about 3 kilometers, you would descend into an enormous, light and spacious womb cavern. Okay, this just going there was a tribal initiation, and it's still practiced by some tribes to this day. Now, the connection of what is above with what is below, basically symbolizing a universal relationship between heaven and earth, is the most evident when you're in these caves. Like, as I said, you got crystals. I think they're called like stalactites and stalagmites. If I'm not mistaken, stalactites grow down and are kind of sharp. Stalactites grow up and are rounded. And, the water would be dripping down. There would also be water, like rivers running under. It was very evident. Our ancestors could see that as above, so below theme. A lot of us might not be able to relate to that because not too many of us have probably been somewhere like that. But figures and signs could be distinguished into feminine and masculine categories. Meaning, basically, they had a lot of art, basically, on the walls down there, and they always were in feminine and masculine categories. So there was a fundamental emphasis on pairing of polarized forces, not separation. So that's the difference. They will have the feminine and the masculine, but they will have them paired in harmony. It wasn't about dividing. It was about, this is a beautiful aspect of the Great Mother. All of this has come out of her womb, from her womb, the trees, the flowers, everything. The feminine, the masculine, the different animals, everything. And they always brought them all together. And the emphasis is always on pairing of the polarized forces. And the figures and animals and signs that were interpreted as feminine were situated in a central position, meaning in the middle, which was clearly the special heart, which heart is earth, the word earth, and core of every cave system that's ever been found. That's at least 20,000 years or older. This right here, what I'm telling you, is in every single natural cave system here on earth underground. Okay. I'm sure there's sections that have been totally hijacked from the military complex, but there's so many more they might know about them, but they're not there. It's just like police that know about the drug dealer down the street, but the police aren't at his house right now. So it's the same thing. They might know about these places, but they're not at all of them. There ain't enough of them. It's 1%. It's 1%. Then they got a bunch of people that's brainwashed doing the work for them, being the prison guards in their own prison. But anyway, so the figures and animal signs that were interpreted as feminine were basically, you could tell they were the heart. They were always fixed in the middle. And the masculine animals and signs supplemented the feminine signs. Either they were arranged around the feminine signs in a circular format, or they were shown in the narrow entrances into the sanctuary or the narrow tunnels out of the sanctuary in the back. That's where all the so basically you can see with the masculine, it's nature. Even nature's been flipped, y'all. Look at the lions. The man, it's the exact opposite right now because of the energy, the hijacking of the energy. It's the exact opposite. The male lion lays down all day in the middle, surrounded by a whole bunch of lionesses. They go out and do all the work. They bring the food, they feed the cubs, they take care of the cubs. The only thing the male lion get up, he's a warrior. That's it. If there ain't no war going on, the male lion ain't got nothing to do. Because that's the energy. It's macro, meso, micro. The prevalent energy is going to, it's like it's either a virus or a cure. It's going to spread regardless. It's going to spread. If the air is clean and the herbs are natural and stuff, that's the cure. Everyone's going to be eating healthy food, drinking clean water and all that. They all will be taking the cure, won't even know it, breathing fresh air and everything. There's no, it'll be, when authentic love is the energy that's around, it naturally cures everything and everyone. Harmony. So it's no medicine that needs to be taken or anything. The fact that medicine is needed shows you that they're still out of balance. So it's either the cure or the infection. That's pretty much what it is. And that's not duality. That's not positive, negative, because positive and negative is feminine, masculine. They can come together. See, they got us. They got our whole perspective of duality even messed up through this patriarchal system. Now, through any system, let me see. All right, so we see how the Great Mother definitely was revered in caves, but this goes back before they was even doing, before the Sphinx even existed. You know, Age of Leo and all that. Before they was even doing it, we was even doing that. Yeah, we knew about cataclysms and stuff, but you got to realize when your realm is in a state of harmony, a changeover event is like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. That's the pole shift. The pole shift is a caterpillar or a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. That's the pole shift when you're in harmony. These severe pole shift, these plasma apocalypses and deluges and all, that's because of we have entities here that, for whatever reason, are here. And it's who we know as the Elohim, the Anunnaki, the whoever, the whole Yahweh stuff, Enlil, all of that, Allah, Sin, Enki, Enlil, all of that. That is who are the progenitors of all of this. They go by all these different names in all these different cultures. So that tells me that they're real entities. They're not just some story that people are telling across the world and it's like allegorical. Now, in the written part, it, like I said earlier, has a lot of underlying things. But you got to know these are real beings and real entities, and they're basically the elites. It is the elites. The elites are just they're the people that they mixed with from our crater with our energy signature, and that's like their offspring. But these beings that had our people worshiping them as gods at about 7,000, and then even at Atlantis. I mean, even though it's a Greek word, but Poseidon and all that, that's not just planetary. I know a lot of people, shout out to Brother Micah. Dank. he does a good I don't like using the word job. He does good work showing about the Bible and how it's the story, like the solar story. You know, you can do that with the Sumerian tablets and all of that, with the Greek mythos and everything. But what you must understand is it's many layers to the onion. So what they call Poseidon, then they call Neptune, but then they come out with the flying ball circus. See, when they was calling these things these names, they had yet to really come out with this flying ball circus, and people was thinking they was these balls floating around in outer space. They were just light signatures, like suns, emanations, and beings down here that know about astrology and astronomy would align themselves with these frequencies. And that's how they would get these names and things. That's how Enki is known as, Enki. En is Lord, Ki is earth, Lord of earth at one point. Now in Babylon, it was Iyah. Iyah has to do with water. It's actually a feminine aspect. Okay. The fresh water. All right. The Abzu. And that goes on and on. But let me stay on topic here. So we go to the Great Mother, from the cave to the moon. Okay. Now the moon in I think it's Latin is many. Mene. Okay. Or menstrual, like menstrual. But in the Bible, there's a verse, I think it's Daniel, when the hand writes on the wall in the Bible, it says many, many tekel parsons, right? They tell you it's Aramaic in the Bible. In Aramaic, many means numbered. Well, and tekel means weighed. So weighing is the scales. Many means number, and parson or paris means divided. That also has to do with Perseus, how he was divided, he was a demigod. So it's the same story being told in the Bible. It's the same Greek story about Perseus. Zeus was his father. Zeus is also Jupiter, and Enlil, Yahweh, and all that. And then he has a half son, who's half God, half human. That's Perseus, okay, who defeats Medusa. That's just the story of, again, the Christ, when the plasma apocalypse comes. The what you see right now as my screensaver that I'm speaking through, that symbol right there. That symbol right there. It's the Tesla symbol as well. It's the malevolent people use it as symbols as well. It just shows that they know. They know this, what I'm telling you. Now, many in Latin means the moon. And the moon is bless me. So the meaning of the moon is actually still hidden in our language. So I'm sorry, what not Latin, is Greek. Greek is many. Mene means moon. In Latin is mensis. All right, which means month. And it's mensura. That means measurement. So when they say in Aramaic, many, many tekel, that says numbered, weighed, or it says numbered, weighed, and then divided, right? That's the same. That's all one word. That's the moon. They're talking about the moon. And Judaism, the Torah, the Bible, and Islam is all religions based on the moon. Why do you think Islam is ISIS? Why do you think Judaism is Israel, ISIS? And Christians, they just don't even really know what's going on. Christians are really Biblicans. That's why even Islam, well, they call the Jewish people of the book, but also, the Christians as well, because they know they worship a book. But the moon into just first those that need receipts. This is the Jews' high holy days are all based on the moon. The Passover is based on the moon. Okay, to the Isis, Ra, and El eats, aka Jews or Hebrews. The Passover is based on the moon. The Feast of Trumpets is based on the moon. The Day of Atonement or At One-ment or the Atone of the Mind is based on the moon. The Feast of Ingathering is based on the moon. In Islam, Ramadan, the most sacred of their whole religion, is based on the moon. The Feast of Sacrifice in Islam is based on the moon. The Eid al-Fitr, which is basically just the end of Ramadan, it's a celebration. That's based on the moon. And Christianity is just, their most famous holiday, holy day. Well, not most famous, their most vital. It's what their whole religion is based on. Easter. Easter is based on the moon. Because not Christmas. Christmas is not their Christians' number one holiday. They'll tell you they know that's not his birthday. That's Saturnalia. But the Christianity's whole religion is based on Easter, the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Well, Easter is 5,000 years older than Easter. Been around since 5,000 BC. It's Ishtar. It's Ishtar, the mother goddess, returned from the underworld in the springtime, when she started giving back life. That's the resurrection. That's where they got Easter from, and it's based off the moon, not the sun, not the solar and the equinox and all that. That came later. That's the patriarchal stuff. The patriarchal made it all about the sun. It was really about the moon, and if we go back, it also Venus. But I'm gonna keep Venus out of this teaching for now. Yeah. So Christianity's whole religion is based on the moon, and Easter just means Ishtar, and that's Inanna in Sumer, and in Egypt it's Isis. It's all the same thing. It's Diana. It's it was Madonna, but not Madonna is actually the Pleiades, the Seven Sisters. But it goes by many different names. In Christianity, the whole religion is based on the moon. All Abrahamic religions. So let me see. Let me get my thought. Okay, so mensis means month. Mensura means measurement. And basically, why? Why would the word for moon mean all of this? Measurement, month, uh, moon, because the moon made possible the earliest measurement of time longer than a day. That's why. So that's why people call this the Saturn moon matrix. Yeah, Persephone, that's another one, sister. Selene, who else? There's a few other ones. Luna. In Sumer it was Kingu, and it's been called Sin as well, but they flipped it to like masculine energy. So the moon made possible the earliest measurement of time longer than a day. And that's what I was speaking of in the caves about the past and the future meets at the moon, the present. Okay. But the problem is I'm explaining this in secular language, I guess that world, and not the sacred and symbolic language of myth. That's where myth comes in. Myth is our sacred language now since we've been using spoken language. Myth is the sacred language. It's not the language of idolatry. It's the language of learning the truth because it will resonate with your heart, the mind of your heart, not your carnal mind. See the stories on top of the paper? That's your carnal mind reading them. Like, oh yeah, and memorizing verses and this and that and da 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 da. Your heart, the mind of your heart will feel the truth. And no man will have to tell you. No preacher man, nobody. So the moon as the whole of nature was experienced as the great mother because the moon's phases became phases in the life of the mother down here. The moon, yes, I have taught about parthenogenesis. It's a real thing. It happens at certain moments, okay, during these cycles. All right, baby, I'm teaching right now. You can't do that right now. So the moon, the mothers down here experience the same phases as the moon above. That's why Cancer is the motherly sign in the zodiac today. All right, and I don't say ruled by nobody. We're not ruled by anything. So the prevalent energy is the moon. People say, Capricorn's ruled by Saturn. If you're a Capricorn, you're not ruled by Saturn. It's just prevalent energy in this incarnation. There's nothing ruling you or governing you except you. Now, so the moon's phases became the phases in the life of the mothers here. The crescent moon was the young girl or the maiden, the Virgo, the virgin. The full moon was the pregnant woman, the mother. And the darkening moon was the wise old woman whose light was within. Boom. Let me say that again. The moon's phases became phases in the life of the womb man. The crescent moon was the young girl, the maiden, the virgin, the Virgo. The full moon was the pregnant woman, the mother. And the darkening moon was the wise old woman whose light was within. Man, what I'm telling you right now is 30,000 to 80,000 years old. Minimum. I know that's like, dang, gee, that's a differential of 50,000 years. That's just telling you how big this is and how far this goes back. Like, this was prevalent, right? What I'm telling you right now was known pretty much by all about 20,000 years ago, before they started all that stuff over there in you know, they tried Atlantis. That was a very small fraction of period of time. And then they went over there in Mesopotamia. And they've been successful thus far for about 7,000 years with the Most High Jack. But previous to that, this was what we knew and know. The old woman, that's the new moon. The light is within. Triple Black seed of the mother. Now listen. So with death, our ancestors felt like they were taken back into the dark womb of the mother and knew that they would be reborn like the moon. Okay. How long is the moon gone when the new moon comes? 3 days. The moon is gone for 3 days. It's dark. That's the new moon. That's the ancient story of the Christ. The light is within, the light of the world. Heaven is within. Christ, Emmanuel said, the kingdom of heaven. That's the newest version of this story that we have had for tens upon tens of thousands of years, y'all. But it's always been about the great mother. And the difference is we never had what we got going on right now. That is the biggest, the most evident difference. Now, they'll try to distort it and try to tell you, oh, yeah, but when it was the goddess stuff, it was orgies and all that. No, that's when they got there. That was Babylon and their temples, with the prostitutes and all. That's when they first got there, and they were still hijacking the feminine energy first. That's why they tell you about Eve eating the apple first. They had to hijack the feminine energy first, subdue that first. That's why the story of the revelation of the method in Genesis. Oh, Eve ate it first, then took it to the man. No, they distorted the feminine energy first, and then they distorted the masculine energy. They're telling you their playbook. Just like the book of Revelation is telling you their playbook. They're literally manifesting it. But it don't even matter. It don't even matter. Because we're eternal, and they're not. A lot of them were. And actually a lot of them still are. But they're just dug. They've dug themselves in a hole so deep that they'll be stuck in their own doing for a long time. They love time so much, that's where their love's gonna resonate. If they love the hate, that's where their love's gonna resonate. If they're still eternal, because to be eternal means they're still love, but they can love the hate. So that means they will exist in a place where they're vibrating at. They will exist on the lowest vibration, but they love to rule. They can rule the slums. There'll be a slum lord. They'll rule the slums for many lifetimes. And that's where a lot of them are at right now. Even the ones that are quote unquote ruling, they're ruling. It's beyond old to them now. Like the joke's on them now. Joke's on them. They're not having fun no more. That's why they're trying to escape. That's SpaceX. The word SpaceX is escape. Elon Musk. That's what CERN is all about and everything. They're trying to figure out rest. They can't. Rest is crest or Christ. That's what rest is. It's the crest or the Christ. It's the middle. It's the heart, earth, the soul, the womb of the great mother. That's what it is. They can't figure out rest. That's what the Large Hadron Collider is doing. It's trying to figure out, they call it a black hole or antimatter. That's what they call it. And I ain't talking about no black GOO. That's you all know that's some old weird crazy mess. I'm not talking about that. So our ancestors looked at it like, hey, death is nothing, is dying, 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 going into a different frequency. So you could literally, it's about free will. You could make the free will decision to, as soon as you leave this incarnation, you can dye into another color spectrum or wave spectrum, and you can go straight from here to there. You can go to the ancestral realm and hang out with the ancestors. You can go, that's what most people call heaven, and don't even know that that's one little itty bitty room. The ancestral plane is one, what? That's like one barbecue going on, one family reunion on the whole earth. That's what the ancestral plane is. And they've sold that to us like that's heaven. Heaven is the all, heaven is all unmanifest and manifest. It's stuff you can't even fathom. That's called the unmanifest. That's where the triple black, that's where they call it, that's why they demonize darkness. And I'm not saying darkness the way they've indoctrinated. I'm not saying evil or wicked or some kind of dark magic. I'm talking about just darkness. It's the womb. Everything that truly matters is surrounded by darkness, even in your own body. Your brain, your heart, your liver, all your organs. What do organs do? They vibrate. They send out frequency. Everything that's the most vital to you is surrounded by darkness. Just saying. They give you that saying that the darkness cannot comprehend the light, because the darkness doesn't need to comprehend the light. The darkness is intuition. The light is the one that try to comprehend everything. That's logic. It's knowledge. That's why they tell you, oh, go out in the sun and get these downloads. The downloads, that's angles, that's angels. It also tells you in Revelation of the Method that you shall judge the angels or angles, because you're an eternal soul. You're the all, so you're going to be the judge. Ment is mind. Your mind is going to be the judge of all knowledge, because it's either a lie or it's truth, and you're truth. So you automatic. That's why when people talk about 4D and 5D, when you don't have these suits on, you're just your frequency, and you can't hide. You're naked, so that you can't hide your lie. You can't hide a lie. It's you're butt naked basically with truth or lie, and because it's all frequent, you can see it. Like you can see it. That's how people can't even really describe the fourth dimension or something, let alone the fifth dimension, let alone the ninth to the 12th. But this is not the moment to try to figure all that out. If you did, you would go kaboom. Your heart would pop, and your physical heart would literally burst, and your brain would you would explode up out of here. So there's no need. They tell you ascended masters and all that. That's laughable. That's laughable. And I'm not belittling anyone. So let me see. Let me get back on track. So I let y'all know about the moon thing with the many Tekel Parsons, and how they say it, Aramaic. It just means moon. It's all moon, about measurement and all of that. I gave y'all all the holy days of all the patriarch Ra legions. Let me see what else. So yeah, the ancestors felt they would go back into the dark womb of the mother, and they would be reborn like the moon. Darkness was not something antagonistic to light, nor death to life. So listen to this. Listen how they've gotten us, y'all. Our ancestors didn't look at darkness as something going against light. It's not an antagonist to light. And death is not an antagonist to life, but it's an aspect of the being of the Great Mother. Everything that existed, including themselves and ourselves, is an expression of the Great Mother. Everything. That means everything, therefore, is an image that confirmed their relationship to her as well. So how can someone tell you that this is a simulation when, if you really have the eye to see, you can look around and see everything that confirms your relationship to the origin of eternal soul, life, light, and rest, including your children, including your mother that might get on your nerves, including whoever, your husband who you've been with, and he just pisses you off. He won't put the toilet seat down. For 20 years, you've been telling your wife, can you shut the lights off? But they're all confirmations. They're all expressions of the Great Mother. Everything. The animals, the deer you see, the squirrels outside. You got to be a little sick in your mind to think that this is all some kind of weird computer program. That's distorted masculine. In the nicest possible way, that's stinking thinking. In the nicest possible way, that's called stinking thinking. That's 120% logic, masculine energy. So out of this ability and perspective, it allowed our ancestors to experience life with an inexhaustible creativity of humanity realm wide, because we was living like this. We didn't look at division as polarity as division. We looked at them still together. Darkness wasn't against light. They was both aspects of one. The Great Mother, they were beautiful. Everything. Death was life. Death is not against life. They're all aspects. A baby is not against an old woman. That's how far we are along with it as a majority. Everything is against white against black, man against woman, Israel against whoever, Democrat, Republican, Cain, Abel. It's insane. So when we live in harmony, we have an ability to experience life with an inexhaustible creativity. And mythos, is the expression of this primordial experience. That's why I'm able to sit here and tell you the story of the Christ that comes from at least minimum was still being told 20,000 years ago. Like I said, it goes back probably about to 80,000 years ago. But it was still being told 20,000 years ago. Because myth is the expression of primordial experience. Here's another thing I forgot to tell y'all. If just for a little icing on the cake, if you still think the Bible is not a moon worshiping book, and sun at the end, but the Torah, Isis, Ra, and El Elyon, the Most High, and then Isis and Ra. Well, the Torah begins with a verse, Genesis 1:1, containing 7 words and 28 letters. 7 words and 28 letters. Well, 7 times 4 is 28. That's the moon cycle. So 7 words and 28 letters. That's 4 weeks. That's the moon cycle. That's a 1 moon or 1 month. Now you add on, because of the quarter, the 2 and about a quarter. You add on that 1.5, but we had ways. Every tribe had a different way of doing that. Sometimes we would wait 3 years and just add on a couple days, something like that. That's how they copied off us with the leap year thing. They got that from us, from the moon. The moon's the real months or months. So the Torah begins with, it's encoded with the moon cycle. 7 words, 28 letters. 7 times 4 is 28. 4 is the number of the Great Mother. That's why they tell you 4 rivers. The X is the 4. The X chromosome, that is the Great Mother. The 4. Earth, air, wind, fire. And they encode it in the Bible. They tell you that fear is the beginning of understanding of the Lord. Talking about Enlil or Yahweh or Yahuwah. Well, fear just stands for fire, earth, air, and rivers. Basically, rivers of water, living water. With the Great Mother, it's no fear. It's just the 4. So, also, Revelation has 16 sevens in it. You got 7 churches, 7 spirits, 7 gold candlesticks, 7 stars, 7 angels, 7 lamps, 7 seals, 7 horns, 7 eyes, 7 trumpets, 7 thunders, 7 crowns, 7 plagues, 7 vials, 7 mountains, 7 kings. 7 times 16 equal 112. That's 4 moons. Okay. If a day is as 1,000 years, that's 12,000 years. That's your changeover cycle. It's not based on the sun, y'all. It's based on the moon. It's 112. That's 4 moons. Okay. 7 times 16, all the sevens. So 7, they've told you, is like a solar number because of the weeks. Excuse me. The how they got the week set up with the 7, but 7 is a lunar number. It's the original lunar number. They hijacked that too. That's why Venus is the word 7. Venus is feminine energy, and that's why it's Venus. They flipped it. It's inverted, diverted, perverted. Venus is their 7. Now, so 7 times 16, 16 times it's mentioned in the book of Revelation, is 112. That's 4 moons. A day is as 1,000 years. That's 12. That's 12,000 years, basically. Then there's more, but I don't want to get too deep with the whole numerology in this teaching. But apparently, as far back as 30,000 BC, the hunters now they'll tell you it's Ice Age hunters, but there's an Ice Age going on at every moment here. Right now, it's just what we call Antarctica. So there's no such thing as an Ice Age where the whole Earth is just ice. We only inhabit a quarter of the actual crater at one moment. The rest is pretty much frozen. Not all of it. At least half. At least half is frozen. So that's what they call the Ice Age. It's right now. We have an Ice Age going right now. So they'll say the Ice Age hunter Western Europe, but it was just regular hunters about 30,000 BC. They were already using a system of notation that was highly evolved, complex, and sophisticated. And it was also in use by other types of modern man, such as what they call the Combi Capel of the Eastern Gravitian culture in Czechoslovakia and Russia. So that means people was using the same language in Western Europe and in Russia 30,000 years ago. This is where they tell you about the Tower of Babel and all that. Like, because really there's no way that you can fathom that we were able to speak the same languages, because we were resonating with each other so much that we could basically, it's telepathy, but you can also speak as well. We weren't like out here grunting like animals or something. We still could speak. but we could understand what we were speaking as well. Also spoken by subcultures in Italy, Spain. It was actually so widespread. The question arises as to whether its beginnings go back to the period of what they call Neanderthal man. So we're talking over 100,000 years ago. We got a language that was found in Europe, okay, Western Europe. That's there's a small group of people that tell you that that's where the cavemen come from, and like the stupid people or something. But 30,000 years ago, we got a language that was all the way over to Russia. That's written. And when I say we, I'm talking about all of us. I'm not talking about Europeans or anything. I mean, just eternal souls that come here, that have been here. And really just the true records of this realm. So the moon's phases, at one point they were 3, and that's actually where they get the riddle to the Sphinx from. They stole, they being the people that pushed the patriarchy, everything they took was from us, from like tens of thousands of years. The riddle of the Sphinx is actually the moon as well. It's about the moon. They say it's man, but it's the moon. Because the moon is your reflection. It's the reflection of the bigger earth, Tiamata. It's the reflection of our creator. It's the reflection of us. So the moon's phases went to 4 instead of 3. 3 is the Sphinx riddle. Now, it's 3 visible phases: the waxing, the full, and the waning. And then there's the 4th phase. All right. This is the 3 days darkness, where the moon cannot be seen. It can only be imagined. That's the true embodiment of the sacred feminine. That new moon. You can't see it. You can only imagine it, but you know it's there. That's just like the womb of the great mother. You can't see it. You can only imagine it, but you know it's there. Man, that's some good stuff. That's good right there. Somebody should leave some hearts in the comment section on that one. So the new moon, where it's 3 days darkness, Jesus in the tomb for 3 days, and all of that, right? Where the moon cannot be seen. Remember, he had a rock in front of him. He had a big old rock in front of his tomb. The tomb is the womb, is the moon. So Christ was in the moon, or the tomb, or the womb. Had a big old rock in front of him. Had people, Romans, everybody roaming around. The soul dyers, the soldiers. The Roman soldiers were standing guard at the moon. Nobody could see it. 3 days of darkness. It cannot be seen, only be imagined. All the disciples was imagining, where's Christ? Where is he? I thought he was going. That's the new moon, right? Being born again, getting ready to be born again. You're in the womb of the great mother, in the darkness, where you cannot be seen, only imagined. A lot of our loved ones right now that passed on to the next place cannot be seen. They can only be imagined. What makes you think you're a Magi nation? The Magi, the wise man or wise woman nation, the nation of the wise man is the Magi nation. Your loved ones are living in your imagination right now. They speak to you through your imagination right now. And who are you to think that that's not realer than that's what you think you're touching right now? Just like the new moon that cannot be seen, but you know is there. Just like the womb of the great mother that cannot be seen, but you know is there. It's the 4th invisible phase, just like plasma is the 4th phase of water. You got liquid, you got solid, aka ice, and you got gas, aka steam, and then you got plasma, the waters above, the blue sky, the mirror. So the fourth invisible phase is also embodies the fourth invisible dimension. Dimension just means masculine and feminine. Dimension. That's it. It's not duality. It's two different aspects of the all. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to experience. If not, you would be a hermaphrodite here, or I guess I don't know. Is that trans thing? Maybe if done like unnaturally. I don't know. I don't know too much about all that. But there's a moment where you will experience where you don't have to experience sex organs and things. You know. So, but that right now is not that moment. Right now, you are who you are. So experience it. And don't let no one tell you it's ego and all this weird stuff. All right. So the invisible dimension where new life is gestated like a seed coming out of the shell. The shell is also hiding what's in there, like the rock in front of the Christ tomb or womb. That's where the seed is being gestated in the invisible dimension, from which the old moon is reborn as the new moon. And when our ancestors observed, what they observed was defined by a seasonal rhythm. It's actually just the atone, the true atone. They figured out there was a rhythm, and to them it was seasonal. And they saw the migrating and returning birds, the crane, the goose, the heron, the swan, the salmon leaping upstream in the great rivers at certain moments. And they saw the sequence of budding, blossoming, and fruiting, and many kinds of trees, and then the fall of the leaf. They saw the gestation and birth and growth and death of all kinds of animals in a predictable rhythm. And guess what? They also saw that their own lives followed the same rhythmic pattern. This is not malevolent, y'all. They've turned this malevolent. The good shall be bad, the bad shall be good. They got you, not you, but they got many thinking that this is a simulation or some kind of prison planet. It's not. It's experience. It's meant for you to experience. You're not trapped anywhere. It's a beautiful thing. And it is on a rhythm, and it's the atone. It's the organic rhythm. So in winter, around the fire, depending on where you live, the ancestors will tell the stories that have come down to us as myth, legend, and fairy tale. Many of these stories that you have today are watered down versions of stories that are 50, 60,000 years old. And they've been hijacked to such a point that people think that it's like 2,000 years ago. That's how insane it is. People are doing prophecy breakdowns about this is the seventh day, and this and that, and Christ's return, Jesus' return, and da 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 da, and Yahweh, and so far gone off of a man-made hijacking of our natural rhythm. Just campfire stories. So the skills that our ancestors and us, because we are our ancestors, you have been here before. So when I say the ancestors, that includes us. We had skills we developed in observing the phases of the moon and the circular movement of the stars and the stories they told to accompany what was going on. That's we made up these mythos and these stories, and they all express the specifically human instinct to recognize analogies between different orders and dimensions of life. It was all benevolent stories, not raw legions, not telling somebody this is the inerrant word of God, this is the truth, you finna burn in hell. That was not even a thing. You would never even tell somebody that. We wasn't even fighting, let alone gonna tell somebody you're gonna burn in hell forever if you don't follow me. That was looked at like that would be the craziest thing that anyone could ever say for like 50,000 years straight. No one ever even like thought that. So the moon was undoubtedly the central image of the sacred to our ancestors in its dual rhythm. Listen to this, dual rhythm of constancy and change. It means it's consistent and yet it changes. It provided not only a point of orientation from which differences could be measured, patterns conceived, and connections made, but also in its perpetual return to its own beginnings. It unified what had apparently been broken asunder as the great light shining in the darkness of the night in all mythologies for tens of thousands of years until what people call the Iron Age, which is about 12,050 BC. So the hijacking started around 6,500 BC. That's when they started. But it wasn't complete until the age of Taurus going into the age of Aries. That's when the total hijacking was complete, the age of Taurus, the age of Aries. When they did the whole pyramid technology and all that. And then, the Exodus story and all that. So up until then, the moon was the story that all mythologies were made upon. Even the Christ. You see, I just broke it down to you. The Christ story literally is of the moon, not the sun. That was made by Arius Piso, aka Josephus Flavius. That's new. That's brand new. That was made into the sun worshiping cult by the Titus dynasty, by a man named Arius. They hired a man named Arius Piso, pen named Josephus Flavius, who wrote himself into the Bible as well. He wrote himself into the Bible as the man that gave Emmanuel the tomb. The rich man, the wealthy man. That he wrote himself into there. That wasn't in the original text. Arius Piso wrote that, and he made it into, as I said earlier, how Micah Dank breaks it down about the story of the sun. Well, that's new. They just did that about 2,000 years ago. It's always been about the moon and Venus. Now, yeah, I mean, that's beautiful, man. The story. Its perpetual return to its own beginnings. It unified what had apparently been broken asunder as the great light shining in the darkness of night. So, up until what they call the Iron Age, it was regarded as one of the supreme images of the mother, the great mother, the unifying power of the mother of all. Now, in the Bible, the mother of all is named Eve. What is Eve? What comes in the evening? The moon. The moon comes in the eve. That's when the moon comes out. And Eve in the Bible is means the mother of all. That's what Adam said. He said, "I shall call you Eve because you're the mother of all living." I am said, one only true Almighty God died on the cross, the Creator Himself. Well, brother, a creator is not the origin. The creator is Ka Ra Tor. Ka is spirit, Ra is light, Tor is toroid field. So the Ka Ra Tor is not the origin of eternal soul, life, light, and rest. The Ka Ra Tor is the creature and the creator that creates things out of things that are already here. Yeah, that's why in the Bible, in the beginning of the Bible, when the thing you call the Ka Ra Tor, when it got here, it hovered above the waters. The waters of the mother were already here. It'd tell you it hovered above the waters and then started blowing breath on everything. That's Enlil, Lord of the Air. It's in the Sumerian tablets, 5,000 years older than any biblical text. Well, God comes from the name Gadriel, which is a fallen angel by biblical terms, and it's also Godin or Woden or Odin, who actually hung himself on a tree 2,000 years before the God you're talking about did. So you are right about God hanging himself on a tree, but that's Godin or Wodan. That's Wodenized day, and his son is Thor. That would be Jesus, Zeus and Thor, and Woden. Woden is Godin, God, and it's not a he. The masculine energy can only create order out of chaos. That's why it's a Ka-Ra Tor, and it's not the origin. The word origin is origine, like gynecologist. It's all it's all in the words, beloved. It's all in the words. But the God you're speaking of, I assume I'm speculate you're talking about the biblical God, because you're saying there's only the he God, the Father God's only been around about 6,000 years. Before that, there was no Father God because it's not in nature. We were never separated from nature. And where does all life come from? Christ even told you, what's loosed in heaven is loosed on the earth. So where does all life come from? It comes out of the yoni, the vulva, the universe. It comes out of the womb. All is mind, all is meant, right? Meant, government, entertainment, all of that. Where does mind come from? The womb, where organic minds begin. So even the story of Christ is literally the story of not having a father. And they flipped it on you and told you that he got sacrificed to his father. He didn't have a father. It's all about the mother creating without the feminine energy doesn't need the masculine energy. It's just an aspect that she loves so much. She wanted to have so many different aspects. That's love. That's your mom. Your mom didn't need to have you. You think your mom sat around and said, "Man, I gotta have a son, man. I have to so he can work and protect me." No, your mom, she loved. She made you out of love. She ain't asked you for no blood sacrifice and all that nonsense they done told you in Ra Legion. Oh, God sacrificed himself. For what? So your whole Ra Legion based on human sacrifice. You might want to, slow it down a little bit and go inward, beloved. But okay. wrapping up this session. Let me see. All right. So the moon is one of the supreme images of the Great Mother, the unifying power, the mother of all. She is the measure of cycles of time. They tell you it's Saturn, right? Satan. They turn that into the devil man too. When really it's just the Great Mother. She is the measure of cycles of time and of celestial and earthly connection and influence. She governed the I have a hard word saying this. Basically, the fertility of woman, the waters of the sea, and all the phases of increase and decrease. The seasons followed each other in sequence as the phases of the moon. She is the image of both of renewal in time and of timeless totality. Let me say that again. She is the image of both renewal in time, so in time, and of a timeless totality. Why is it timeless? Because what was apparently lost with the waning moon was restored with the waxing moon. Duality, waxing and waning moon, was contained and transcended in her totality. Do y'all get what is being laid down here? They have us in division from duality when duality is not meant to be friction. It's a dance. It's a beautiful ballroom dance. It's a cosmic dance. It's not meant to be battling dark versus light, this versus that. Now, I'm not talking about wicked people. I'm not talking about some old. I'm not giving you no this law of one crap or something. That the wicked are good too. There's no such thing as evil. I'm not saying that. I'm giving you the true records right now. That's all. I'm giving you a different perspective that our ancestors had before they were duped by this Father God bullcrap. All right, Legion. So, duality, the waxing and waning moon, was contained and transcended in her totality. Life and death it was not perceived as opposites. It was seen as phases in a rhythm that is endless, eternal. Life and death are not seen as opposites, but as phases in a rhythm that is eternal. You're not stuck in time, beloved. That would mean you're stuck in this life. You're coming back to this pretty much same experience. It might not happen exactly how it happened this time because you're going to probably make different choices. It's going to take you down a different route. You're going to experience a whole nother life, but you're going to be right here, though. That's where the elites are at with it. That's called time. We're in a rhythm that's eternal. And part of that rhythm is rest. That's the story of the moon. The moon is reflection. It's reflection of us. And don't worry, I will integrate Venus into this in the next one of the next parts. So lunar mythology preceded solar mythology in every single part of this realm. And not only by a couple thousand years, we're talking 80,000 years. Now, are there moments when there's no moon? Yes. Just like there's moments when there's no sun. There are periods of what we call time, where there's no sun or no moon. There's no night. And there's no focal point called the sun. So that's why we have documented pretty much every cycle, like, oh, the people, when the moon came out, they started worshiping the moon. And that's just because at that moment, the moon had been gone and the sun had been gone and all that. That's just one part of, the rhythm. So the lunar, I guess, mythology / story also follows. This is then, so it went from the cave to the moon to the serpent. It also follows a serpentine path. This is called the Apep snake. Now, time for we're gonna share screen. Give me 1 second. Now, you know what? Let me do the entire screen real quick. Let me double check this is working. I hope everybody's doing well. If you came in late, as always and always, Mësët to you. Give me 1 second. Let me make sure this is working here. Is the screen share working? Let me see. Okay. All right. So this right here is this is called the analemma today, but it's the Apep. Where is it? It's this. So this is where the serpent. So we already went to the cave, right? The womb. Then we went to the moon. Now we're going to the serpent energy. If you know about this is they have one where they show Marduk slaying a pet. This one is actually Atum Ray. Atum. This is Adam. Atum slaying a pet, or about to kill a pet. A pet, right, is the wobble, not the spinning of the earth. It's a wobble, right? And it's the moon. And the sun moves like this too. But this is the natural rhythm. This is actually our natural rhythm as well. This is where this is the splitting of the cells. This is everything. And when they show the story in ancient Egypt of them killing this, they were letting you know the hijack had been fully done. The patriarchal energy has slayed the feminine energy, the natural order. See, people think they got you thinking snakes are evil and stuff. I don't like snakes, like even outside. I'm not gonna go pick one up or something. But it's not that I don't like them. I don't fool with them. I respect them. I observe what they are, and that's what it is. But they have demonized the serpent as well, and they also made a Ra Legion and added that Kundalini nonsense in there too. See how they always try to get you with something? Oh, if the serpent's good, let's him. If it's not bad, let's worship it and idolize it and make your Kundalini rise. Nope, that's idolatry too. So this is nothing more than this right here. It's called the analemma. This is the lunar analemma. right here. Okay. And as you can see, it looks like a snake. This is where they get the snake from. This is the snake head. Let me see what I got. Here it is. This is the head of the snake. This is the body. So that's where they say the natural earth energy is serpent energy. That's what they're talking about. They're not talking about no kundalini, no crazy serpent stuff and reptilians. They're talking about this right here. This is what our ancestors. This is the only movement that's on earth. We're not spinning. We're not spinning on no ball. All right. There's a wobble. It's the tide going in, tide going out. It's the waxing, the waning. That's what it is. And the new. All right. The graduation. When the two become one. All right. So here's the head and then the tail and all that. So that's the lunar. This is also what it looks like. Now remember this. I'm going to show you a pretty cool video. Without completing it, this is what it looks like. This one. Now, do you know that they tell you it's ancient Hebrew, it's really Phoenician. It's the fire language. Phoenician is the phoenix, the fire. And phoenix means the phi is our natural energy. Nix means to knock it out, to make it go away, to exit out. So phoenix means to knock out the phi, the feminine energy. So the Phoenician language is called the fire language. They got every letter from this right here. I'm going to show you a video on how they did it. Hold on. Share screen. Boom. Tab. YouTube. Where you at? All right.
Most people as children have had the opportunity to make paper models, perhaps, and you cut out a piece of paper and it's set up to make a particular model, and it's
Can everyone hear that? Can you hear the dude talking? Someone let me know if you heard the dude talking. All right. Thank you, country kid. How you doing, brother? All right.
got tabs and slots. And if you put tab A into slot A and tab B into slot B, the piece of paper, the model, folds up into the intended form. It's pretty simple. I didn't bring globe by Maxium globe. I usually have, but that's how I put it together as a child. If you take the Hebrew text of Genesis and you look at the first verse, which is the first natural unit of the text, and you write the letters out one each on a bead chain, and curl the bead chain up so the same letters line up, just like tab A into slot A.
I am going to show you this, what he just said. He said you put the letters of the first verse, the first word in the Bible, it says in the beginning. The word is Bereshith. He said if you put it on a bead, like a bracelet, and you fold it together, it's 6 characters and they're pictures. They call it pre-Canaanite Hebrew, but it's really Phoenician. It's 6 characters. It starts with the Bet. Bet means Saturn or home to these things, these beings. 369 Saturnic, Elohim, Anunnaki. Bereshith in English says be reset. So they reset the feminine energy and replaced it with a false god. That's the story of the real story of like the rebellion and that whole war in heaven and stuff. It's not no war. It's right here. It's right here. It was a most hijacking of the feminine energy. And the very first word in what they say is Hebrew, is Phoenician, is Bereshith. It's made of 6 characters and they're pictures. I'm going to show you in part of this teaching, I'm going to break it down to where it's going to absolutely blow your mind. It's probably better than the teaching I did on archaics. It's I did it years ago, but Facebook erased it. And it's that moment has come for me to do it again. And I'm going to show it to you. It's going to blow minds. I'm telling you.
And tab B into slot B. Then the bead chain folds itself up into an identifiable form. Now, this is one of the earlier versions of that bead chain, which is now on a piece of paper.
Now, look at the pyramid technology. Watch this. This is the 369 Saturnic energy, but it's still just they needed the feminine energy to do this. So he gonna show you the Merkaba. This is the cube coming down out of heaven, adorned like a bride for its husband. The Garden of Eden. The first one and the second one coming. And this is the pyramid technology. 369, 1/3.
And what you can see is all the letters double up. And in fact, if you want more details, this is all laid out in some of the earlier lectures which are available. But the idea is that this pattern is so strong that if a letter were to have been miscopied or left out, or some other tragedy had happened and something was lost, you could uniquely replace that letter simply by reference to the other letters.
You hear
That's
that?
how strong the pattern is.
That is the simulation. That's the simulation, the pyramid. So it really blows my mind for some people to be out here teaching it's a simulation, and then even in the same sentence tell you that the pyramid was made to break the simulation, when the pyramid technology is the simulation. He said if you miss one letter, you can find it from the other letter, from the sequence. That's a computer program. That's artificial intelligence. That's abominable intellect. That's what this is. He's explaining it to you right now.
The reason for doing the music was to find out if these patterns continue beyond the first verse.
Now the music is the 88 keys, the the octaves and all of that. It makes the pyramid, the Great Pyramid, as well. Now I'll get into that later on in the teaching.
Because after all, maybe it was just a lucky hit that there was meaning at the letter level in the first verse. That would be a lot less important than if a whole text was coded at the letter level, which is apparently the case. If you agree with me, then you probably think that music sounded...
Well, the 88 is right here, beloved. You see the 88? It's the natural tour. It's the natural right here. See, it's the 88. That's the 88. The feminine version of it right here. The tree of life. He even got it right here. You see? That's the original one. But they've distorted it.
Like it was not random, but that there was some kind of cyclical structure to it. And again, we've discussed that at length before, and apparently there is. There's also been statistical work done by tenured professors, people ought to know what they're doing, at UCLA and at Hebrew University and a few other places, which have shown that there are letter-level patterns in some of these texts, which are not in, for instance, the essentially similar story in the Samaritan version of the text, which is also in the ancient alphabet, but has slightly different spellings, and the letter patterns.
Slightly different spellings. Do you hear what he's saying? It's all spells. All this written stuff is spelling. So he's telling you they're just slightly different spells. All of them
disappear. So we're dealing with a text that is coded at the letter level, letter by letter by letter. That's very important because
So it's coded letter by letter by letter. That's what I just told you. The first word in the Bible is Bereshith. It's 6 characters. It's literally pictures. The very first word that most Christians say, they just read it in the beginning, don't even know that the whole construct is encoded in the very first word. The whole freaking, their whole program is encoded in the very first 6-letter word. All of it.
People think that the text of the Bible, of the Torah, is a story. It's a rare story indeed, where the sequence of letters makes the words, which then have to be made into a story.
He just told you what the Torah is. He said it's a rare story indeed. It's a sequence of letters that then have to be, it's a code that then has to be made into the true story. So basically, everyone reading the Bible is reading some fun dummy story worshiping this fake father God who is actually the artificial intelligence. It's the thing that's trying to make this a simulation and become God over its own mother, the great mother. Basically, is what the whole thing is. And it's not the Gnostic version. Don't get, I'm not going to tell you what not to do, but I recommend, if you want, if you desire, you will, to be aware of the Gnostic version, acquire, go right ahead. But I'm going to let you know that the Gnostic account is religion as well. The whole Sophia and the demiurge and all that. That's, I'm just gonna say it as nicely and plainly as I can say it. It pretty much leads to nowhere. You can learn a lot from it, and you can learn a good different perspective, but it doesn't lead anywhere. It literally leads. I was really surprised when I found out that it pretty much leads, it's like a dirt road that leads to nowhere. And it's sad how it just falls off into nothing. It really was sad, to be honest with you.
And I am not going to read those quotations tonight, but again, that's on some earlier material. So we have a text that folds itself up into this form. And the interesting thing about this form, before I put it away entirely, is that when you go around and you get to the end, you come up in the middle and start over again. That the form has 7 turns to it.
7 turns. There's that 7. Where they get the 7 from? The Great Mother. That's originally the Great Mother number 7. You see, even the pyramid, the artificial intelligence got 7 turns.
Kind of flattish form. And that when you get to the 7th turn, it comes up the middle and goes around again. Actually, you get to the 6th turn, and the 7th is up through the middle. Now,
I'm gonna stop it right there. You heard what he said. He said you get the 6th turn, and then the 7th you come up through the middle. That's the womb of the Great Mother. That's the womb. So it's 6, and then the 7th is, that's where they got the whole story. The 7th day is rest. The 7th day is when you go back to the Great Mother, the womb. Ain't no Saturn Day. El Elyon, the Most High, the Father that eats his own kids. Kid is a goat, the greatest of all time. The one that'll sacrifice his own child. And want to see if you'll sacrifice your own too, Isaac. Want to see if you, Abraham, sacrifice your own child too. So I know you rocking with me. And then I give you all the kingdoms of this world. I'll make your seed as plentiful as the stars. Yeah. I'll give you this whole world. You sacrifice your own son. And then what's the story? This evil, twisted thing done human sacrifice its own son. That's what they tell you. It's all good being called bad and bad being called good. Religion. So he said the 6 circles, and then the 7th Oh, hold on. Let me look for this other one. Hold on, share screen. So 6 turns and then a 7th is returning back. Well, let's take a look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoop, return. So we got the Egyptians, the Pep snake, the natural energy telling you what he just said. Look, he said it's 6 turns when he was talking about the pyramid energy. It copied our natural energy, y'all. 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns, 5 turns, 6 turns. He said the 7th returns back to source. 1 turn, 2 turns, 3 turns, 4 turns, 5 turns, 6 turns, and then swoop, right there. But look who's standing there now. The patriarch, the father, Atum. Now he's become source with his staff, coming back with a rod of iron to rule the nations. The ruler god, the masculine, the masked lion. Okay, see how it's got the line, the straight line right here? That's the masculine, the divider. See how he's dividing the natural energy from the rest of everyone? It's dividing. You see how it's at a slant? That's the 23.5 degree slant, the wobble. That's also part of the little Freemason thing too. But I'm not going to get all into that. So there you have what the man just said. Now, this is the Serpent Mound. All right. Same thing. We got 1, 2, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess you could say that's 7. And then a spiral, which will be back to source. Let me see if I can get a better picture. All right, this will come later in the teaching. I'm getting ahead of myself. I forgot all about that. So let me not go there yet. But remember this right here, y'all. Remember this shape right here, because that's what the video is really getting ready to get to.
From Arthur Young and others, we have learned that you can identify something very similar. A torus, a donut, is identified mathematically by 7 colors on its surface, and they're arranged so every color is surrounded by the other 6. And
so that's your 7 archangels, your 7 archons, your 7 Elohim, your 7 planets, and all that. It's a frequency. It's a color frequency. That's all it is. It's the visible spectrum. It's the 0.0033%. That's one of the secrets of the Freemasons. That's the light bearers. They know about this. They know about the 7. Okay, it's the 7 visible colors. As I said earlier, your 3rd dimensional self is in color, but it's a shadow of your 4th dimensional self. The way here, the shadow of your 3rd dimensional self is not in color. It's shadow. It's black. It's dark. Okay, it's just dark. So 2D is your dark shadow. 3D, you got visible color, as he just said, 7 colors. And then 4D is a whole nother level.
And you can see this vortex shape, this spiral path that outlines the edges of the colored regions. Now that's only there if you make all the regions exactly the same size and shape. Mathematically, you don't have to do that normally. This is an idealized form where if you don't have any particular reason to do otherwise, you make everything equal. We're looking for Occam's razor, for minimal forms here. And this is one form of the torus, and it has 3 turns around with the 7 colors arrayed on it.
That's actually the pep. You're gonna see it. He has another thing. He's gonna show you the pep, the analemma. And Occam's razor just means the simplest thing. The truth is usually the simplest thing. That's pretty much what Occam's razor means. The truth is usually simple. Look, this is the flower. This is flowers, seashells, snail shells. This is the fetus, the ear. This is everything. This is the spiral of life, the eternal spiral, the doubling.
For 1 turn through the hole. And here's another form of torus. This one has 3 loops through the hole, the 3 heavy black lines, for each 1 turn around it. And this is a little noisier, but
now remember the waxing of the moon, the full moon, and the waning of the moon is the 3 visible, and then the hole in the middle is the new moon, the invisible, the return to the womb, the rest, the crest, the Christ, the crush. To get in there, you got to get crushed in the middle. Okay, the triple black seed of the mother, right? The 4th state is the state of rest. Life, light. You got soul, life, light, and rest.
it also maintains that pattern of 6 around 1. Every color has 6 around, has the 6 other colors surrounding it.
6 around 1, again, the 6 loops, the analemma, the apep, is also carbon. 6 around the nucleus. The nucleus is your soul. The 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons, the 666 are the 6 loops that are looping around your soul. They're the emanations, okay, of colors. If you mix all colors together, it'll turn black. That's your soul, the triple black seed of the mother that emanates this whole toroid field, your aura, all of that.
And as many of the people here know, Arthur has elucidated a wonderful theory of process based on the 7 stages that you can correlate with the 7 colors on the torus as a natural cyclic model. And it turns out that the verses at the beginning of Genesis, which is really all we've investigated in great detail, have that same cyclic pattern to them. They fit on the surface of a torus.
And as I said, I'm going to break it down to you within this teaching. It's going to blow your mind on a synchronicity level. I'm going to show you the chakras, what they tell you, the planets, the ages, the story of the Bible of Christ. All of it is all in 6 pictures that say Bereshith, that says be reset, that says in the beginning in the Bible. The whole story is told, and I'm going to show you, just as I did with the teaching on archaics about how what they call the Saturn moon matrix is in the spoken language, the original, the 24 letters.
When you put them on the surface of a torus, the letters line up in the Hebrew text. Now,
see, that's why they call it lesser magic. He said that you put the letters on a torus, they line up. That's how spoken language lines up with vibration, y'all. That's how they got us speaking reverse spell casting, basically.
You can examine the torus, and as you can see from this wonderful model now that our friend Arthur Bloch is making, he calls it a hypersphere. And again, Arthur has pointed out that the volume of the torus is equivalent to the surface of a sphere in 4 dimensions. And so, in a true sense, you can think of this as a hypersphere. You can think.
Did you hear that?
And so, in a true sense, you can here in 4 dimensions is equivalent volume of the torus is equivalent to the surface of a sphere in 4 dimensions. And so, in a true sense, you can think of this as a hypersphere. You can think of it as a sphere being pulled around a circle, although you couldn't see its full thickness. You can see a torus as a ring, as a circle being turned around a circle. But if you think of that circle as actually a sphere, then you can see why this would be a hypersphere. It's got an extra level of circulation to it.
Just give them the formula. The circle is pi r squared, and you go it around, so it'll be multiplied by 2 pi.
2 pi.
So 2 pi times pi r squared, that is the hypersphere.
Exactly. And again, very elegantly put and written up much better than I could. I highly recommend The Reflexive Universe to anyone watching this tape. It'll help you understand much of what's being said here. I think this follows.
Hold on, I'm trying to get to this.
All right, so we have found that the first verse of Genesis makes these donuts somehow. And of course, there's a lot more to it than that. One of the early riddles, though, was I've only used half of the possible spaces on this form. And the half is a nice, elegant number, but it'd be nice to use all the spaces to find out what's the tightest form that the first verse can fit on. And a year or two later, and I again didn't bring that because I don't want to go into a lot of detail, we found that the first verse also fits on a form that looks like this.
Boom.
It's basically a cube with a little vortex on each face of it. It actually sits on a cube octahedron, even better. And it's got only one axis of spin symmetry, so it could have a real spear down the middle of it.
What do you see? It's the analemma. If you look at it, it's the analemma. Watch, you'll see. And he got another one that shows it even better. It might be on the next video.
And this, because of the way a cube can be pasted together, the opposite faces identified, is a mathematician's model of how a hyperdimensional torus would look if it was pushed back into three dimensions. This is just the outline, one outline of a hypertorus, a bagel of the gods, if you will.
Would that be a cube with opposite faces
Yes.
connected?
The opposite faces, if you look through this very carefully, you'll find the opposite faces are mirror images of each other. It's as if you took this face and pulled it around and pasted it onto this face.
Basically, in a nutshell, y'all, there are beings here that have the knowledge of the 4th dimension, and they're using it to control our 3rd dimensional experience. When you exist in the 4th dimension, you right now are the 3D you is a shadow of the 4th dimensional you. I'm not talking about that 5D new age stuff. I'm talking about reality. Okay, you don't just skip from 3 to 5D when someone can't even tell you what 4D is. That they'll just probably say love and light. And I'm not knocking anybody. I'm just being honest. Now, I'm looking for this one part.
That would give you 3 rings, and again, you can look at some of the other Scott cross sections. Understanding can come together.
All right, it must be the next one. Give me 1 second. All right, it gotta be this one.
It's like a living torus, an apple, a fruit. You see, in Genesis 1:11, and in the introduction to the Zohar, the Kabbalistic text, they refer to a fruit tree yielding fruit whose seed is in itself.
Did you hear what he just said? In Genesis 1:11, which people like Aleister Crowley said 11 and 111 is the most magical number, when ritualistic magical number. So Genesis 1:11 already has occult roots. Okay. And he said in the Zohar, the Kabbalistic text, that it stands for, let's let him say it again. Word for word.
In Genesis 1:11, and in the introduction to the Zohar, the Kabbalistic text, they refer to a fruit tree yielding fruit whose seed is in itself.
A fruit tree yielding fruit whose seed is in itself. They talking about the tree of life, aka the great mother, y'all. The seed of the womb man, it's even in their own book. It says the seed of the womb man shall fatally bruise the head of the serpent. But they flipped it. They flipped the whole thing though. So that's called revelation, not unvelation. They're reveiling it. They're giving you the truth, but then they're pulling the veil back over top of it. So the tree that's fruit, that yields fruit, whose seed is within itself. That's the story of the new moon. The moon you can't see, but you know it's there. It's the womb, the moon, the womb, the tomb. Okay? The tomb is the womb, is the moon. It's the same thing. And the new moon or the black moon, you can't see, but you only through imagination, the Magi nation, through your wise dome, do you know that it's there. Just like you know the womb of the great mother is there. And it's her seed is in you. That's deep. That's deep.
It's as if there's a circle of little spheres, the seed pack, inside of the meat of the fruit, a bigger sphere. Now we know if we're modeling something hyperdimensional, we want to make.
And the seed in the apple is the shape of a star, like Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. You get what I'm saying? And they got that. They got, a lot of Muslim symbols as the 5-pointed star and the crescent moon. That's the great mother. Islam, ISIS. That's Israel, ISIS. It all starts with the feminine energy.
Like a hypercube, we put a little cube inside of a big cube and connect up the corners. We call it a tesseract. And the in to out direction is the hyperdirection. We know, therefore, the same can be true of a sphere. If you have an in sphere and an out sphere, you have a hypersphere. As Arthur has shown, you can model a hypersphere as a torus.
So the fact that we even have a toroid field shows that we're fourth dimensional beings right now, or you wouldn't have a toroid field. So that's how you know. The difference is the ones that are kind of like conning and trolling us, they know how to affect our to work from a causal plane instead of the effect plane, which means they know how to work from the fourth dimension and not just down here trying to work on the third dimension. You see, they got most of us down here chasing money. That's third dimensional stuff. That doesn't even exist. And that's a shadow of something. What is it a shadow of? You think it's a shadow of like real money in the fourth dimension? No, it's a shadow of the idea of money in the fourth dimension. So even the idea or egregore, Gregory, means watcher. It just means watcher, thought form. Egregore, Gregory, egregory. Okay, it's a thought form. Thoth, Tahuti, the Jedi. It's the force. So they make a thought form, and then the shadow appears here in the third dimension. That's why Emmanuel said, "What is loosed, what you loose in heaven, is going to be loosed on earth." It's just a shadow. As I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I still lie down in green pastures. Green is your heart, it's earth. That's the mother. So even when you think you're in the realm where it's really just a shadow of reality, you still lie down in green pastures. That's your heart emanation.
So again, we're very consistent. If you punch out the seed pack and the flower in the stem, you end up with a thick donut. I didn't bring the model that I usually bring, but this will serve. And it can fall through itself just like this does, and it has a hole down the middle. And except the cross-section is different. The cross-section is more like what we have here. It's this sort of elliptical cross section, more or less elliptical, like fruit, like a real fruit. And we found eventually that if we took off just the edge of the vortex.
Now listen, he said if we took off just the edge of the vortex or the apple, well, that's on the back of many of your iPhones right now. The apple with the bite out of it. If they take off just a little piece, that's what he's talking about. Just one little bite off the natural thing. Watch.
And we shaped it just so. We ended up with a shape that looked like this. Now, there's a lot more to this than I just told you.
That right there is the apep. That's the analemma. And it's every Phoenician letter, aka ancient Hebrew letter. That's the yod. That's yod hey vav hey. That's all of it. It's our natural energy, aka the apep. It's just the wobble. That's all it is. It's just the tide going in, tide going out, the waxing and the waning of the moon, of the womb. It's the life cycle. And they took a little piece of it and made their whole fire language, their Phoenician, the phoenix, nix out the phi, the feminine, the feminine. Phi is iron. You're an if you have red blood, you're iron-based blood. So even the phi is down to the blood. So phoenix is even to nix out the red blood beings here that embody the phi energy signature.
One thing that's distinctive is that this doesn't come parallel to the equator. It comes down perpendicular to the equator. Eventually, we discovered that...
You hear that? It doesn't go parallel to the equator. It's perpendicular. That has to do with the lens, the reflection and all that. How it's kind of sideways. It's at an angle. The analemma. And me and Brother London and I are still doing that teaching. We've just been having our schedules haven't been coinciding as of late, but we're gonna get it done.
That the torus was a little more complex. That in fact the best way to define this shape was off of a so-called torus knot. This is the 310 torus knot, the one that's in the poster. And the reason why this is of interest, as you can see from what's up on the wall, is that if you look at this form from different directions, you can see all shadows, two-dimensional outlines of all...
Shadows, two-dimensional outlines of what?
All the Hebrew letters.
Of all the Hebrew letters.
You can see all shadows, two-dimensional outlines of all the Hebrew letters.
So what is he essentially saying? He's saying they hijacked the 3D realm with two-dimensional, not with the mastering of the shadow. They hijacked the 3D realm with keeping us in the shadow of two-dimensional consciousness. So now they're hijacking the 3D consciousness with fourth-dimensional consciousness. So they're hijacking the shadow again. That is what this attempt is about. That is why we are needed. It's not a war. It's just about being. But even when you're being, you're still doing something that's purposeful. It's not just no purpose. He just told you what their whole language is. That's known as the fire language. It's a shadow. What does fire create? Shadows. When last time you seen somebody having a fire during the day? You don't have no a bonfire during the day, or a campfire where everyone's sitting around during the day. I mean, if you're out like in the mountains or something maybe, but commonly the fire's at night and it casts shadows and crazy things moving and things that go bump in the night, and That's what he's saying about this language. It's a shadow of the third dimension.
We're pretty sure the same form, or some very, very closely related form, produces the Arabic letters, and a related form, but not quite the same, produces the Greek letters.
So I just told you it's the same thing for Arabic and Greek. Phoenician, Hebrew, Canaanite, Arabic, and Greek. And Greek is actually the splitting of the cells. And this is all based upon the analemma, aka the pep or the apophis. In Greek, it's called the apophis. Egypt, the apep. Today, the analemma. It's the serpent. Bliss. All language, it's just a natural energy. Even the splitting of the cell, which that's what the Greek language is made from. It's the splitting of the cells. I can show you that as well.
And so we've got the first verse of Genesis folding itself up into a form that, when you look at the form from different directions, makes all the letters in which the text is written. So the question becomes, why would anybody do that? And we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I'm sure he will talk about that. He ain't gonna say too much. He already on there, probably sharing too much of his stuff. All right. Now let me see. We are 2 hours and 30. I'm about 2:40 in, so I'm gonna wrap this version up. I don't want it to go too long. So yeah, in closing, the next part will be starting off with, I'm going to show you some artifacts that are undeniable, the receipts confirming everything that I've taught in this part one. I'm talking about artifacts from 16,000 years to 150,000 years. And it's not all based on carbon dating. So I know there's a big thing with carbon dating. Which actually carbon dating, if you know, is reliable up until about 60,000 years. After that, the percentage drastically increases or decreases. But so we went from the cave to the cave / inner earth to the moon, and next we'll be hitting. We kind of hit the serpent a little bit, but just like how I explained how our ancestors said the moon died and came to life again, the same way the serpent sloughs its skin, yet it remains alive. So the ancestors looked at the serpent like it must have already become what it already was, what it always was. And it also became an image of rebirth and transformation. So it was not malevolent. It was not about no freaking Kundalini and all that raw legion. It was simply about the natural organic rhythm. And it was noticed in many different ways. And this teaching is not just going to be all about pointing out the different ways. We're going to get a little bit deeper. So I'm going to leave off with that. In the next one, like I said, I'm going to show you a lot of different artifacts and things. Let me see. And explain a lot more. Let me see. We're going to go through the piano keys, 88 keys, the 7 1/4 octaves. We're going to go through all that. We're going to go through the 13th note. Look, read this. Thus, a 13th chord is a tertian. That means built from thirds. 1/3 energy, 3, 6, 9. So the 13th chord containing the interval of a 13th and is an extended chord if it includes the 9th and or the 11th, the 9/11. There's your Joachim and Boaz, the IXXI. That's your 369 Saturnic energy. That's the Merkaba, the Ka, and the Ba, the double counter rotating pyramids. That's your Merkaba. That's your Yod Hey Vav Hey. That's your coming down as a cube adorned like a bride for his husband. The 13th dimension. It's artificial. There's only 12 dimensions here that each have 12 overtones. That's 12 times 12. That's 144. The Great Mother is times 1,000. That's 144,000. Okay. So that's why I say a day is as 1,000 years. They talk that's something that was spoke about the Great Mother tens of thousands of years ago. That's not from the Bible or the Sumerian tablets or none. The Sumerian tablets are new compared to the Great Mother spirituality and truth. So the 13th dimension is what they call the metaverse. And you see, it's an extended chord if it includes the 9th and the 11th. That's the 9/11, which Elon Musk just turned to the 11/9. It's the new symbol for AI. It's instead of IXXI, it's XI. IX. It's 11/9 because of the analemma where we're at. We on the U-turn. See right here on the 6th one? And then when you come around this U-turn, that's the side turn. All right. And then when you come around here, you can either graduate and go back to the womb, or you can stay in this and come back here again and have 7 more incarnations, 3,000 years apart, all in different ages. And that's pretty much the overlay right now. The moon, and we're gonna go over this. The 9, that's the 9 right there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Feminine. I'm gonna break this down. The 9 moons or 9 months of a baby. I will show you how that's. I mean, I've already done it on one of the teachings about Serpent Mound, but we'll go over this again. And where the baby is be earthed right here in the middle. That right there is where the baby is birthed. It's based on the moon cycle, conception, right? But it's birthed right in the middle, right there. That's the autumn and the spring equinox. See, it's. I'll get into it though. I'm just showing you some things we're gonna go over. This is the thing he was holding. That has all the letters. It's just remember how I said he took a bite of the apple? He said he just took a piece of the apple because this is the whole apple right here. That's the head of the snake. That's the snake. That's really, that's the stem of the apple. This is the apple or whatever. It looks a little wider depending on, but this is what he had right here. Oh, that might not. This right here, he had the little piece of it right here. That's every Hebrew, what's not Aramaic, Arabic and Greek letter, all based off the analemma. This is the solar analemma. This is from the southern hemisphere. This is from the northern hemisphere. This is where they say Satan will be bound for 1,000 years. This is all based on the analemma. See how they got this part going underground? That's the story. And then when it comes back up, this part, that's the story of Ishtar coming back from the underworld. Coming back from the underworld and coming back up. And that's the original story of Easter or Ishtar. It has nothing to do with Jesus. Also, we're going to go over the pole star and the constellation Cancer. Cancer is also the moon. Remember that? Here again, you see the circles. This artifact is from not Malta, the island, the Knights of Malta, Malta, Siberia. This is about 30,000 years old. It also has the 6 spirals around the 7th, which has a hole right in the middle, which is the womb. So our ancestors been knew all of this. On the back of this, there's 3 snakes. These are the 3 types of waveforms there is here. And also timelines. And I'm going to show you why these 2 have 2 big heads and this one is little. This is the waves. There's 3 different waveforms here. Another ancient bracelet dating to 20,000 BC in Ukraine with the meander, the labyrinth thing. Also, we'll show you that. I'll show you this astronomical clock that is in Czechoslovakia, where they get this from. It actually comes from a woolly mammoth tooth. This is Yeshua. This is where they get the story of Yeshua from. It's actually the god Shu in Egypt. This is the symbol of the Great Mother. So Emmanuel is Emmanuel. Amma is the Great Mother. Nu means the countable, uncountable, the seeable, the unseeable, the exclamation. And El just means time. This is the symbol of the Great Mother. Here's Shu holding up the feminine energy. So that's where Yeshua comes from. Here's Shu again over here. See? You see Shu holding up the mother? See the Great Mother? This is Shu. This is Yeshua. You see the thieves on the left and the right? You see? Just like being on the cross. Right here. And in this cosmology, the mother is the sky and the earth is fathers, Geb and Nut. So here's Father Earth. Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? Laying down. Here's the thieves on the hill of Golgotha, or whatever you want to say. Thieves on the left and the right. Where's Shu looking to? The right. This day you shall join me in paradise. To the thief on the right. That's the feminine energy. And he's holding up the feminine energy right here. That's Yeshua. Shu, standing center, supporting the sky goddess Nut, arched above him with the earth god Geb lying at his feet. Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? So we're going to get into that. And how it all goes back to recently, because of the parasites, the Squatter Man, and the coming plasma apocalypse as well. So we're going to tie it all together. So that's it for part 1. That's about 3 hours. I hope everyone enjoyed it. I love you very much. If it's placed on your heart, I see we have a few moderators in here. Salute to all the moderators. Salute to everyone here. I will put my donation information in the description when the video posts. If it's placed on your heart, or if the moderators have that and they can post it, I greatly appreciate it. And I just appreciate your energy and just being here, part of the community, even if it's just your place to come unwind and you was kind of like halfway listening, and maybe you got to watch it again. That's fine. Either way, your presence is a gift. I just happened to see a random comment that said about the Shu being the Shu men residence. That's absolutely correct. Shu and men was known for distorted masculine. The Shu men resonance also comes from another deity in Egypt called Min, known for an erect phallus, distorted masculine. So the Schumann resonance is all masculine energy being measured. The real in harmony, it would be called Shu Tefnut. And they tell you a man named Shoe Man, just like the True Man show, the Shoe Man show made that up and all that. I did a kind of deep dive on that, proving that that was a psyop. Just like Galileo, that person never existed. It was like 7 different people playing Schumann. So yeah, it goes back to Schumann, man. So you're absolutely correct, brother. That's right. You got it, Mr. Rasta. You got it. Because it should be Shoe and Tefnut. But guys, I love you very much and appreciate you. And I will be doing part 2 to this within, I say within the next, before the strong end. Most of you probably say weekend, but I say strong end. So before the strong end, I'll get part 2 out. Okay. Love you as always and always. Mësët.